deeper with Lobbing Scorchers, scratch under the surface, get down even dirtier than we already get, become a YouTube member. Sometimes things just get a little too spicy, a little too weird, and a little too loose for the general public. And the people to see that are YouTube members. We're talking about exclusive bonus videos, the podcast after show, exclusive written content, and little bits and pieces of information before the unwashed masses know about it. As a member, you not only get access to all of this amazing content, you get a badge next to your name and a slew of amazing emotes to use, not only in our live stream chat, but also in our comments section. And yes, we do have an emote for Jesus Ferreira, Go Snack, and Paul Rothrock. This is the best way to help keep us independent and keep us building out this crazy YouTube brand that we call Lobbing Scorchers. Hit the join button down below or hit the link in the top of our description if you're on mobile to join the ranks and become a Lobbing Scorchers YouTube member.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Under the Lights. Got a big show for you all planned here this evening. We're going to be talking some Seattle Sounders and Vancouver Whitecaps, who they're playing at Lumen Field on Saturday. We're going to be previewing that with our friend Michael McColl of AFTN, a Vancouver Whitecaps podcast. We're going to bring him on in just a minute here. He's going to give us the inside scoop on our friends up north. And that was honestly pretty much all I had planned. I'll probably hang around for a little bit after we move Michael along and take some questions. As always, you guys can steer the ship, give me whatever topics, questions, agendas, observations that you might have, and then it's back at it, back to the grind of the league season. Seattle obviously coming off 2 straight losses and looking to get back on track with this Cascadia rivalry matchup at Lumen Field against a Vancouver team that one of the better sides in the Western Conference still. So we're going to bring Michael on to talk about that right now. But before we get into it, if everyone could please like the video, sub to the channel, like, comment, rate 5 stars, follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok. Jacob's asking, will Thomas Müller be back? Let's find out. Let's bring him to the stage right now. It's Michael McColl from AFTN. Is this a third-time returning guest? He might be our first third-time returning guest in Lobbing Scorchers history. Michael, thank you so much, as always, for hopping on, talking some Vancouver Whitecaps with us with your 49ers hat on. How are you doing?
Good. I thought you've got me on during a Seahawks game. There'll be no Seahawks fans watching this live, so I should dodge that. Cheering on my boys after their good win.
I may or may not be doing a little dual screen action, seeing how the old Hawks are doing. They're winning. They're kind of in cruise control right now, so we don't need to focus on them all that much. We can talk about some Major League Soccer. Michael, let's talk some Vancouver Whitecaps. Let's do the thing where I just give you my outside perception on where things stand with the Vancouver Whitecaps, and you can tell me if I'm up to speed. Vancouver Whitecaps, obviously, were the hottest team in Major League Soccer to start the season for the first couple months of the year. Made that great run to CONCACAF Champions Cup final. Obviously, that did not go super well, but to me, Michael, it seemed like ever since then, the Whitecaps came down to earth a little bit. They weren't quite at those heights that they were during the CONCACAF Champions League run. But it does seem in the last month or so, they are kind of back to flying at the top of the West. Thomas Müller, we'll talk about him. Obviously, he's in the mix now. And that seemed like it kind of bolstered the vibes a little bit. But just in general, this feels like a team that got a little healthier, got a new great player, and it's kind of feeling lately now how it did earlier on in the season. Is that roughly accurate?
Yeah, getting healthy is key, although we're still not healthy at all, as you would have seen if you watched the game on Wednesday night against the Timbers with how many players were out. But June and July, players away on international duty, the injuries racking up, it really killed the team's momentum. We don't know how much the kind of hangover from the big cup final loss down in Mexico played into it as well. But I mean, first game back, beat the Sounders with an understrength team as well. And then it was fairly up and down after that. The wheels have definitely come back on. They are flying just now. The Whitecaps style of play that we saw earlier in the season, the short passing game, the quickness of movement, the pressing, it's all back. And that's good because it's like, if you're going to have a blip, have it in the middle of the season and then go into the playoffs in good form, which right now the Whitecaps are.
What was your reaction to all the Thomas Müller stuff? I won't lie. When I saw it, I wasn't sure what to think as far as, when you have like these kind of name chasing situations, it can go, one of two ways. Sometimes they're super bought in and they can bring a lot to the new team. And other times it's more of a retirement tour. You never really know what you're getting. And in this case, I think he was like about to turn 36 right when this move was announced. I guess, first of all, did you see this coming? Was this one of those things that was rumored, or did it kind of come out of nowhere? Because it kind of came out of nowhere for me, but did it come out of nowhere for you? And then I guess, what has he brought to the team, either on the field, off the field? Do you feel like this is a move that meaningfully makes the Whitecaps more MLS Cup contenders this year, or has it been kind of a wash so far? What's the status of him with the team?
He's definitely improved the team. First thing, just to get this out now, he will be in the squad for Saturday. Whether he starts, I don't know. I think he will, but he's definitely going to be in the squad, and he's definitely going to take the pitch against the Sounders. So that's good news, at least from a Vancouver point of view, and anyone that wants to go along to the game to see him. But the whole move, it kind of came from nowhere. When it was first out there, you're like, yeah, that's not going to happen. That's some agents throwing another MLS team in the mix to either make Cincinnati come up with more money or to come up with more money down at LAFC. And then the more it got talked about and the more it was like, well, he doesn't want to go to Cincinnati because he'll be mobbed because of the German population there, and they're going to know him, and he can't walk down the street and he can't have privacy. LAFC, from what we're led to believe, it was them that backed out of that deal. They decided that wasn't what they were wanting to go with. And then he says he made his mind up on Vancouver very, very early. As soon as he found out that Whitecaps were interested, he did his research, spoke a little bit to Alphonso Davies, but that didn't factor into it. That was just more for confirmation for what he kind of thought himself. And then it all came together pretty quickly. And I mean, it's stunning. We've been linked with big name players here in the past, and none of them's come off. Going all the way back to Martin Rennie's tenure in 2012, the Whitecaps were talking to Michael Owen to come here. And Owen actually revealed that himself in an interview once. And then we were linked with Drogba. I don't know how serious that was. We had made overtures to Modric last season. But again, that didn't come into Modric on a turf pitch. I'm not sure would have been a good thing at his age. But this Müller one, it makes a lot of sense. The team plays in a way that he will be able to benefit it and to thrive. And the big thing for him, and he's made this very clear, he's not here for retirement. He's not here just to go and play golf and go fishing. He wants to still win trophies. He just needs one more trophy, and he'll overtake Toni Kroos for the most trophies ever won by a German player. He's now got the chance to do that Wednesday night in the Canadian
Championship. Does Toni Kroos have one of those? I don't think so.
The thing is as well with that, and I know, like, we've watched enough football, we've seen shocks. It's a 99% certainty that the Whitecaps are winning on Wednesday night against the worst team in the CPL that have only won one game to get to the final, because they've had some penalty shootouts and draws. But you can't take anything for granted. That's going to be his first trophy. But you listen to him, you talk to him. He wants to win the treble. He wants to win trophies with Vancouver. He wants another Champions League adventure, this time in CONCACAF. And off the pitch, it's created a whole buzz in the city. There's more Whitecaps jerseys going around. The Müller jerseys have sold out. People are talking about the Whitecaps. And even when he hasn't been playing these last couple of games, the Whitecaps have been doing the business and banging the goals in, albeit not so much on Wednesday against the Timbers, but the previous two games that they've been exceptional. And Thomas Müller is a guy that's going to make everyone around him better. And that can only be a good thing.
Do you know like how he discovered the club in the city? Because it seems like to me that he might have been looking around at the different markets in MLS, and for whatever reason, Vancouver randomly it seemed like he was researching it, and he was like, this seems like my kind of place. Is that sort of how that came about? And why do you think that the club and the city seemed to speak to him like that? It feels like a kind of you haven't heard any other big name players like this, like you mentioned, kind of have that happen.
Yeah, it does sound that he looked at various options. It was one of his team that contacted the Whitecaps and said, Thomas would be interested in coming to Vancouver. Would you be interested? And I think Axel Schuster at first was like, is this a prank call? Like, who's calling us up here? And of course I'm interested. And it looked like they couldn't make it work because we had committed to 2 DPs for this season and the 4 under-22s. And then there's 2 versions of this as to where I think the truth probably lies somewhere in between. One was, oh, no, we can make it work. And one was MLS saying, oh, we can make this work. Which I think if MLS wants something to work, MLS makes something work.
Yeah.
But Vancouver suits him for a number of reasons. He is a big nature guy. Right? In Germany, he loves his horses. He loves getting out in nature. He loves fishing. He went fishing with Isaac Boehmer, the second choice keeper here, in his first week of being here. And he's been playing golf, and he's just bonded with the team really, really quickly. He made a joke after one of the games that what he likes about being here is he can be looking at the blueberries and lemons and nobody knows who he is.
Yeah, you hear guys like that say stuff like that sometimes, that they kind of it's a little bit slower pace of life than it is in Europe, where they can't walk 10 feet without getting recognized. And it just if you look on his YouTube and stuff, as I think Jacob and Chat was talking about it, but like he's going on all the bike rides, he's living his best life. So that's cool for him, and it's definitely cool for the Whitecaps. It seems like, would you say that the sort of kind of boost in the locker room and off the field has been sort of what's benefited the team as much as what he brings on the field? It seems like he's been a good vibes guy for this team. Is that accurate?
Yeah, he seems to be. Like he's joking around at training 1 minute, and then the next minute he's deadly serious and telling players where they need to go. For a young team, and we have got quite a young squad, these players are going to learn so much from him. Like I've spoken recently to Jeevan Badwal, Ryan Elumi, and they both want to be like a sponge, especially Badwal, who kind of plays the midfield position, and he just wants to soak everything up. And for a lot of them at first, and I'm trying to think, I think it was Jeevan that said this when I spoke to him. He's like, week 1, it's like, oh, I don't want to go near him at training. I don't want to tackle him in case I hurt him. And it's like, but the second week, I'm tugging on his jersey and pulling him back. And so the vibe's there. And he's been really good in the locker room. He's been made captain for now. And he didn't want to take that. But the players said, no, we want you to be captain because you're a leader. And he takes that really seriously. And whether he's actually wearing the armband or not, he's going to lead. And if you watch him, like if he does play on Saturday and you get the chance to just watch him for a few minutes off the ball, you'll see him pointing, directing traffic, basically, calming things down, raising intensity when it needs raised. When Ryan Elumi scored his first goal, he celebrated in front of the Southsiders and then just moved away. And then Müller grabbed him and pushed him back and said, no, you celebrate more. That's your first goal. You enjoy that first goal. And that's the kind of guy that he is.
Yeah, he's having watched him play more since he got to MLS than I have previously in his career, he's a lot more of like a playmaker, unselfish player than I realized. I kind of thought of him, I guess, as more of like a pure striker, number 9 type player, but he's really got some number 10 to him. Is there I guess what's the tactical fit like in the attack? Have they had to change how they play at all? Has Sorensen had to do any tinkering, or has he kind of fit in seamlessly?
There's been a little bit of tinkering. So he is kind of playing, he's been playing as a 10, but he's basically a false 9. So we're almost 4-2-4. But I mean, technically it's 4-2-3-1. By tinkering to get him there and in that 10 role, I personally feel it's slightly weakened the midfield a little bit, because we had a 3-man midfield with Pedro Viti in there, and he was just everywhere. And then you had the double pivot of Sebastian Berhalter and Andres Kubis. So you've still got the double pivot, but there's more getting asked then of Berhalter and Kubis. And I mean, Muller does track back, he does defend, but it just means that some of the other guys are having to do a little bit more defensive work. It's going to be interesting when Ryan Gauld is fit to start, which is very, very soon, as I'm sure we'll be about to come to in a sec, how he's going to fit into this, because Muller's kind of been in one of the roles that Gauld has played and thrived in, like right behind Brian White. So I think we'll see him in one of the wide positions, White up front, Muller behind, and then we've got 4 wingers fighting for one wing spot, and any one of those 4 is a starter. So it's then how you keep them all happy as well. But there's a lot of games coming up, so they will all get minutes. But once they come to the playoffs, they're all going to start and play, and they're not all going to. So that's the next thing that Sorensen has to kind of work on, keeping everyone happy.
What's up with Ryan Gauld? Has he played a single game all year?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So
he injured himself in March.
Okay, so right at the beginning of the year.
Second or third game. Honestly, there's been so many games this year. We'd played 34 games by the second week of June, which is like insane. So like I'm kind of losing track of what it was, but it was definitely in March. There was a goal kick from the opposition. Can't even remember what the game was. He went up to head the ball, just landed awkwardly, twisted his knee, and you're like, oh, that looks a bad one. Hasn't played since.
Off a twisted knee, and they kind of just don't know.
It was a knee strain, and the hope was he was going to be back in June, maybe even for the cup final. Then he had a setback, and he was still feeling pain in it. He started to get back on training really last week, getting involved in his first proper sessions, doing ball work, no full contact, taking tackles. And then this week, very heavily involved. And the news this week, Axel Schuster was speaking to our good friend Harjeet Johal, and it looks like he is going to be in the squad for Saturday. He's not.
That's what I was going to ask, because I saw that he might play in this game. Do you think he's going to start, or is this like he needs 20 minutes off the bench?
It's kind of like Brian White on Wednesday. He'll maybe have 20 to 30 minutes in him, because he's nowhere near match fitness. I spoke to him on training at Monday when he came off. We were just joking. I was like, "Oh, you're looking good." And he's glad, I'm glad you fucking think so. It's like, I feel knackered here. And he was just sweating buckets. But he's moving the ball well. He's putting sprints in. The test is to be in a game where somebody goes in for a meaty challenge. And we know these Seattle-Vancouver games can have some meaty challenges in them, as the last game at BC Place kind of had a few. But
it had a few red cards on Seattle's part as well.
Yeah, I would imagine there'll be at least one on Saturday. If there's not, I'll be disappointed. But he'll be in the squad, and whether they bring him on might depend on how the game's going. And
if they're like ahead by a couple, probably. Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe that is the situation.
See, the thing is, we've got the cup final on Wednesday as well. And with all respect to Vancouver FC, there's a couple of guys on that team that, and Scottish vernacular, we would describe as hammer throwers. They're very heavy tacklers. And I don't know that you want that to be his first game. And you don't want him to be on the wrong end of a bad challenge and then he's out. But at the same time, you can't shirk away from it. It's football. There's going to be tough challenges and matches. I think he'll get a run out. If Whitecaps are winning, you might see him 10 minutes. If they need some magic, you might see him longer.
What did you think of this game against Portland last night? So 1-1 draw at BC Place. Portland was winning until like the 87th minute or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. And then Vancouver gets the set piece equalizer and then really looked like they were going to get the winner. That someone hit one off the post, but it ends 1-1. What did you think of that result and performance and kind of where it leaves Vancouver heading into this game with Seattle?
I mean, it was 2 points dropped. It's a game that going into it, they should have won. As soon as you saw the lineup and you saw the guys that were out, you're like, oh, this could be tough. But I liked the attack. I thought the attack last night on paper was excellent. And it was going to cause what I don't think is a very good Timbers defence a lot of problems. Full credit to Portland. Their defence were excellent and they did not allow the Whitecaps anything in the first half. It was all Portland. They didn't take their chances. They really, like Phil Neville said after the game, they should have been going in 4-0 up. Jesper Sorensen didn't really agree with that. But he actually wasn't wrong. They had the chances. They just could not put anything away. And they were made to rue that because it was your proverbial game of two halves. Whitecaps dominated the second. They brought Ali Ahmed on. That brought something different. Not that Jaden Nelson wasn't having a good game, but Ali just kind of brought something else out of them. We had Giuseppe Bovalina in at right back because Eddie Aracampo was suspended for yellow cards. And he hasn't started a match all year. Well, he started a game for Australia under 23s, but that's not quite the same. So he's had very few MLS minutes. And I think Portland saw that and were like, okay, let's just go for him. It was long ball after long ball to Bovalina's side, and he was struggling. And I really like Bova. I think he's a really good player, but he had a torrid time. He seemed to settle in the second half. Portland just seemed to be happy to sit on the one goal lead, which was ridiculous. And then it was the last 10 minutes, Whitecaps pummeled them.
Yeah.
And Brian White scored. There was a couple of other close calls. Sabi, as you said, crashed one off the post. 5 more minutes. Whitecaps would have had a winner.
Yeah. Where do you think that leaves them going into this game, given that? And then also, I mean, you mentioned the Canadian Championship thing. They're juggling that right now as well. But also, it is Vancouver FC, which you would think they should be able to handle that game. You don't want to be presumptuous, but is there any notion of like they're going to have to rotate or save guys or mix and match the lineup based on the fixture congestion, even though it is a CPL opponent?
No, like Saturday will be the priority. That will be the full first team that they've got available. It'll still be a strong team. They just beat Forge in the semi-finals 4-0. And Forge are the top team in the CPL. And that was with a kind of B roster. So this should hold no fear. The only worry about Wednesday is the team is stacked with ex-Whitecaps that have been let go from WFC2.
Oh, they're going to be motivated.
The academy. Oh, yeah. So there's that, but an early goal, which they'll get. And I know this can come back to haunt me. Folk can clip this if we end up losing this. This would be one of the biggest shocks in North American soccer for years if the Whitecaps lose on Wednesday. They know, like, if they win this, they're back in the Champions Cup as well. So they're not going to take it lightly. But Saturday, if they want the Supporters' Shield, they have to win Saturday. They can't drop any more points. They've got to win out. It's got to be 4 wins if they want to win the Shield. Now, to me, That would be great. I would love that. We've never done it, and it would be proper silverware from MLS. We've got to finish top of the West. That is the main priority for me just now, just to have the home field advantage in the playoffs. Although, how things are currently sitting, I wouldn't be too upset with second if it ends up being Seattle LAFC in the first round, because then we miss both of them, and then we miss the winner in the semi-finals. So I'm fine with that as well.
I've kind of resigned myself that it might be LAFC 4, Seattle 5. And, I don't really want much of a part of that, that team right now with how they're playing, but it might just be what happens.
I think Seattle have to win on Saturday as well, though, for top four.
Man.
Like, if they want top four, that's got to be a win.
Seattle might have already chalked themselves from top four.
Yeah.
But if you win this game, you're kind of back in it. But it's
I mean,
it's looking
Minnesota
dicey.
could fall, but they've got such an easy run-in.
Yeah.
But then LAFC have got quite an easy run-in as well. San Diego's not going to drop many points. So yeah, I mean, Sounders have to win on Saturday, and they're going to be up for it. I mean, coming off the back of a couple of defeats, as you mentioned.
I mean, I hope so. The storyline we're dealing with right now is just, the Leagues Cup hangover and how you. I mean, it's a similar situation to what Vancouver was in with Champions Cup this year. Vancouver had the, how the hangover goes. Vancouver had a little bit of the hangover, but they've had like this whole kind of season to work it off, and now it seems like they're back, whereas Seattle's kind of they're just in the middle of the hangover right now as we speak. So
and
that's basically
Vargas
the situation.
to World Cup duty as well, and
Reed Baker Whiting. So,
and I mean, I kind of think the Whitecaps are partly responsible for your good run, because I think that drubbing at BC Place was exactly what Brian Schmetzer needed to give his team a big kick, because you've been phenomenal since.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think there actually might be something to that. All they needed to get was, what was it? 2 red cards in 3 minutes or whatever. That my hope is that they can avoid 2 red cards in 3 minutes for this one. Keep all 11 guys on the field, and you'll give yourself a chance from there if you can just manage to clear that bar.
I mean, in all seriousness, it would be better 11v11. It would be a great game. I think these are two of the best teams in the West. Up until the Miami loss, I guess, I was saying to folk, for me, Seattle's the best team in the West, and then LAFC. But I think LAFC's now taking that mantle on. I don't know how you stop Buanga and Sun right now. And that is a worry, which is why if they end up being fourth, I would be quite happy to be second and third and just avoid them for as long as possible in the playoffs.
The Buanga Sun duo is looking absolutely demonic, and I don't really know what's to be done about that. I guess we'll find out if anyone can stop them in the West playoffs. I mean, how are you feeling about Vancouver's MLS Cup chances? Is there like the vibe in the fan base that this could be the year, or is there any apprehension as to, you got this LAFC team looking really good. You got San Diego up there. You got Minnesota United doing their weird little thing. They're up there. But how are you feeling just as far as those chances?
Surprisingly confident, which is unusual for Whitecap supporters to feel that way. They're a good team. And in a single straight game knockout, anything can happen. You could be playing LAFC, they don't take their chances. A best of 3 series against LAFCs, it would be a whole other matter. So at least we don't have to worry about that. But I think they can go all the way. They've got to get Blackman back in the middle of the defence, and the hope is that he is going to be back. Last week at training after the injury, he could hardly move. He was walking on it, but he was really slow, really limpy. This week, Monday at training, he was moving a little bit better. So that's all positive signs. We've got 2 other centre-backs that we brought in the transfer window. One came with a hamstring injury in Poupé. He's close to coming back. And then Bastien Schonlow played for WFC2 just to get some fitness up, did his Achilles after half an hour. And at first it wasn't meant to be anything bad, but he's not even been on the training pitch since then. But Blackman, if we get Blackman back for the whole playoffs and everyone else is healthy, Gauld's back, and the guys at season ending, obviously, forget them. We've got a very good competitive squad, and we could go all the way.
Jacob says going from relocating the team at the start of the season to hopefully MLS Cup is kind of a wild ride. Yeah, I mean, is it kind of wild to think about how the storylines have changed from, I mean, what he's talking about is, there was talk at the beginning of the year about this team's future in Vancouver and all that. And it didn't seem like it was mortal danger of a relocation happening. But anytime that gets surfaced, that's not what you want. What is the status of that whole thing and the club's status within the city, and has how the season gone changed any of that?
Kinda. It's nothing's definite, and talks are still discussing. Axel Schuster has said it might not even be next year that this is all sorted out, so it could go on. Whilst it's going on, the current owners have said they are fully committed to the club, and I think you've seen that because they've just brought Müller in and 3 other big signings in the transfer window, some of which they've paid money for. That it has changed, though, in that they're now not necessarily looking to sell the club. They're looking to get new investors into the club and reduce their share of ownership. So when you hear that, you're like, yeah, they're not going anywhere. So that's good. So they're not going to relocate. What it has also done, and then this is where, if you want to put your tinfoil skeptics hat on, all of a sudden the city are quite happy to build a new stadium for the Whitecaps that they've struggled to get built.
Oh, really?
Before MLS. Yeah, they're prepared to work with the Whitecaps now because it's important that they don't lose them in the city. And it's like, oh, that's coincidental. But if anyone's been to Vancouver, we have the PNE. So it's like exhibition fairgrounds. Every August, they have a big fair up there. It's beside Playland, the big amusement park that's here in Vancouver. There's also a race course there, Hastings Racetrack. And I'm not a big fan of horse racing. I think it's cruel to the animals. If Hastings Racetrack shut down and the horses all left, I'd be quite happy with that, to be totally honest. The horse racing community don't want to leave, but that is the area that's being targeted to build a new stadium. So it's basically at the back of where Empire was in 2011. If anyone was up for the 2011 season when we had the temporary stadium before BC Place, it's right behind that. So it's a beautiful setting. You've got the mountains backdrop. It's not great for public transit right now, but tied in with the stadium would be improvements to transit, maybe have a SkyTrain line up there, definitely better buses, even talking about a second bridge to North Vancouver. So this is tied into a big, big thing that the city are planning, but Axel Schuster won't put a timescale on it. And the Whitecaps lease at BC Place is up, I think, the end of this year, actually. So they would have to work with BC Place. It would be a soccer-specific stadium. They would control all the dates. Vancouver Rise would play out of it, and the NSL, WFC2 would play out of it. So it's all fantastic. So all that's come from the team being up for sale. And then that comes, the team starts to do well, and then the owners are like, oh, no, we're not necessarily looking to sell. But if people want to invest in the club, yeah, we can look at that.
It sounds cool. I do love the location of BC Place, but I also, I mean, I understand the reasoning, like why it's a little similar to what we hear about in Seattle, where it seems like the club really wants a soccer specific stadium, or really just their own stadium, their own facility. But for me, I'm like, you can't give up the Lumen Field location. Like there's no way that you can move from that location and improve the game day.
No, I mean,
it's
so handy. If you want to get the train in, you can get the train in.
Yeah.
And to find a new piece of land in Seattle that you could do that and have those same things and have great access off the highways, I don't know.
It's probably wouldn't happen till like 2034 or something. But Michael,
I mean that's what I'm thinking about this stadium. You're probably talking 28, 29, 30.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if anyone else cares about this, but how does a Vancouver FC make it to the Canadian Championship final with it? Did you say they only won one game?
Yeah. So they entered in the first round and they drew with Pacific, who's another BC team. It went to penalties. They won the shootout. The second round, let me get this right. Second round, they played Cavalry. They drew both games and they won the shootout. So that was 3 games, 3 draws into the semi-finals. Semi-final at home. They had not won a home game in over a year in the league. They somehow won against the team that was second in the league 3-1. So that was the game they won. They then lost the second leg 1-0, but they went through 3-2 in aggregate. So they've played 5 games. They've won 1 over 90 minutes, and they're in the final.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, the football romantic in me would say, oh, their names on the cup.
Is it weird having like a CPL team in a place where there's already an MLS team? Like, have they cultivated their own fan base anyhow, or how does that work?
They've got a fan base. Like, their announced attendances are like 1,600, but when you see the stadium, there's not 1,600 in there. But that's tickets sold or tickets given away to schools or whatever. Not everyone turns up. The problem is they're called Vancouver FC, but they play out of a place called Langley. So I guess
isn't the team name Vancouver FC of Langley or something?
No, that's something we've started to try and get that on, and because it annoys them so much.
Oh man, I might have used that in some official copy the other day.
Oh no, that's fine. It was in the Whitecap press release as well.
I think that's what I took it from. I thought that's what it was. I thought that's what they were called. Isn't Langley like down by the?
Because the guy I do the podcast with, Zach, is he was a Whitecaps fan, fell out of love with the club. He stays in the Fraser Valley. He used to stay in Langley. He's now in Abbotsford. So Vancouver FC's his team. So we've always had this rivalry where I'm always pissing on his team for being terrible and being bottom of the league. And now we've got a final where our 2 teams are going against each other, which is kind of nice. But he's part of the supporters group for Vancouver FC. They're called the Fraser Valley Fanatics. They're small, but they're proud. They're local. They do a lot of the games. They have tifo. They have banners galore. They sing the 90 minutes. Outside of that, it's not a huge crowd. They've really struggled to connect with the local community. I think partly because they've called themselves Vancouver. Because people in the Fraser Valley don't like to think of themselves as Vancouverites. It would be like, I guess, if you went to Tequila or Tacoma, and you said, "Oh, you're from Seattle," and they'd be like, "Yeah, no, we're not."
Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah,
people saying that they're from Seattle, even if they're from like the surrounding area, and then people who are actually from Seattle get offended. That's sounds like a similar idea.
They've lost folk with that. But Vancouver FC have also had constant pokes and barbs towards the Whitecaps as, oh, we're in a Canadian league, not an American league. And we're all like young Canadian guys. And it's like, yeah, that the Whitecaps developed. But yeah, okay. And your leading scorer is, he's not Canadian, he's Mexican. Oh, okay.
How's the CPL doing? It seems like it's got a pretty credible operation going on.
I mean, I think there's some worry about the financial viability of it because all the teams are losing a fortune. And like, for all my jokes about Vancouver FC, Canada needs the CPL. It has to survive. And for listeners that's not familiar with it, it's kind of like the USL Championship. I think some teams would struggle in the USL Championship, so maybe USL 1 for the teams at the bottom. But you've got Forge FC that have been in the final every year, the 6 years. They've won it 4 times. They've been competitive in what was the old CONCACAF league that qualified you for the Champions League before they made it the Champions Cup. So they've been in that. They've been in the Champions Cup. They're well run. They get good fans. Ottawa are owned by Atletico Madrid. So they're called Atletico Ottawa, which I hate. But they've got a good tie there. So they get some of the young Spanish guys coming over. They've also recruited well from Liga MX as well because of the Spanish connections. So they're good. Cavalry, who are based in Calgary, are also good. So those those top three teams are good quality. They would have a good run in USL Championship. The crowds are good. The problem is all the games have been on a pay channel called One Soccer that people can't subscribe to without
I'm not
paying.
subscribing to One Soccer.
Yeah. I mean, you'll get all the CPL games and you'll get all the Canadian games, national team, and you'll get all the CONCACAF games for all the CONCACAF tournaments. But you've got a hard, loyal following that subscribe to it. And I've got it. I have it on my cable package because my cable package is the only one of the cable operators that will take it. So they've gone to court to try and get the other cable operators to take it without much success. Apparently, from next year, all the games are going to be on linear TV, but we don't quite know what that means. We don't know, is One Soccer going on linear TV or is it going to be shown on like TSN? So that's all up in the air. The games are shown in America on Fox Sports 2 and the other Fox Sports, maybe Fox Soccer. Oh, I know.
FS2, something like that.
Yeah, when I've been down trying to get it, it's been tough if the place I'm staying in doesn't happen to have Fox Sports 2 to watch it. Because as I can't use my cable login outside of Canada. But if you have One Soccer as a standalone app, you can watch that anywhere in the world.
That's all. You got to have this service, that service. I'm subscribed to everything these days. It's just
I'm stopping it. I'm finding other ways. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah. All right, Michael, that is all I had for you here this evening. Thank you so much for hopping on as always. Really looking forward to this game. I mean, Seattle needs to put these last couple games in the rear view. So looking forward to getting back at it and appreciate you giving us the scoop on the Whitecaps. Anything you got going on with AFTN coming up or anything that you're working on that you want to plug?
Yeah, we'll have a new podcast coming out on Monday. So it'll be like post Seattle talk. I'm not heading down for the game, unfortunately, because I commentate at UBC and we're playing at UBC at exactly the same time. So I need to stay off social media and avoid the score. They also played in the 7-0 win over Philly. So I didn't know the score of that till I got home. I couldn't believe what was happening with that. So hopefully we'll get a repeat. But yeah, we've got a show coming out on Monday. We'll also be previewing the Canadian Championship final. We're speaking to Martin Nash, who long-time Sounders fans from the USL days might remember him from when he was with the Whitecaps back, way back in the 2000s. He's the head coach of Vancouver FC. So that's another Whitecaps connection. And yeah, we'll have maybe a few other interviews sprinkled into that as well. But yeah, that's it.
Love it. All right. Well, thank you again, man. Appreciate you making the time as always. And we'll get you on again real soon. Get the fourth time returning guest going.
Maybe in the playoffs. Who knows?
Maybe. All right. Thanks again, Michael. Appreciate you. And take care. Catch you next time. That was Michael McColl from AFTN, a Vancouver Whitecaps podcast. Always appreciate his time and him letting us know what's going on with the Whitecaps. I mean, big game coming up on Saturday, guys. Top four. I don't know if top four is still a thing, but if it is still a thing, they're gonna need to win this game. I'm not watching the butt fumble on replay. I got Seahawks dual screening, keeping track of what's going on. It actually kind of got crazy. They choked away the lead late in the game. The Seahawks did. What are they? The Seattle Sounders? Just Obed used this internal stint as a way to increase his leverage with contracts with Seattle, or should Seattle already be offering a max U22 contract. Are they not already? I mean, they should already be offering that. I don't know. That's one thing I'm like, I don't know how that's not I don't know how that's not done. I don't know how that's not done. At least they got RBW done, but I would have thought that Obed would be done before RBW. I don't think it'll devolve into like a holdout, but that's what it seems like. All right, guys, I'm gonna call it early tonight. I'm dragging a little tired. Been a long week, so I know this is a little shorter than I usually go, but I'm gonna call it a day right there. We'll be back at it on Sunday or Saturday with the post game live. I'll let you guys know what's going on with that. Follow me on Blue Sky. Other than that, check out the podcast that we just dropped today. That one's out. And then Lobbing Scorchers kickoff with Nico on Monday morning. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok. Like, comment, rate 5 stars, all that good stuff. And catch you guys on Saturday for post game. Like the video. Exactly. Like the video. Do what Ben said. Like the video. All right. Love you guys. Peace.
Some people come to Lumen Field for the tactics, for the soccer, the atmosphere. And some come for Paul Rothrock's hair. Me personally, I come for both, because I have agendas to push. Live soccer isn't just better, it's way more personal. From making friends to becoming the guy in your section that's just constantly yelling about advanced statistics. Get tickets to any Sounders match by visiting lobbingscorchers.com/tickets. You support the pod, our agendas, the vibes, and the chaos.